most people try to make friends and influence people, right? Well, we godly people, we, for the most part, make enemies and expose fraudulent behavior. And the reason for that is because that's what God has commanded us to do. It is our sacred duty to do so. And it's not necessarily that we want enemies, because godly people, we know that enemies can also be potential allies down the line. And with that being said, the topic for today is how we're going to have 2+ jobs going into the future just to make a living. And the enemy that we have in this is the system. It's the matrix. And it's the people that are willfully blind to the truth. Some people hear the truth, they know the truth, and yet they're not doing anything about it. And then the other people, which is most people, by the way, I think most people see the truth. I really don't think that it's like, I don't think as a country, at least here in the United States, we're as split as people want us to believe we are. I think there's a minority of people that are really, and when I say minority, I don't mean like racial or ethnicity or gender or whatever. I mean just the people that are thinking a certain way. They just don't have the knowledge to even come to these kinds of conclusions. But most people have the knowledge, and anybody that's not living under a rock has the knowledge, which who knows, we might soon be living under a rock because of the way the living situation is here. But the job, everybody, like, who wants a job anymore? Who really does want a career anymore? I mean, some people do, and that's great, but who really wants to do that day in and day out? I did the same thing for a few years, and I just thought to myself, how could somebody do the same thing for the rest of their lives? And we're not even promised or guaranteed anything nowadays of job security or anything like that. The only kind of job security you're going to get is by creating a business. I genuinely believe this, being an entrepreneur, that you cannot automate. Because if you can't automate something, then AI is not going to get to it, because that is a legitimate suspicion that people have as far as, is AI going to take your jobs? 100% AI is going to take your jobs, but it's not going to be for a few years, I don't think. I think it's going to be slowly raveling in like it has over the past 6 months to a year, but it's not going to actually cement itself until a few years down the line, which is still not necessarily as far away as people want us to believe it is. I even saw something that said this might be the last summer that we don't have AI robots. And the reason being is because there are going to be robots that are coming out next year that are basically like your friend. They have a personified, they're a humanoid basically, but they're robotic, which is crazy to think about. But not being able to automate something is going to be the best way to create anything for your life nowadays. I mean, we're also to the point now where, think about this, where you can go to the university for 4 years plus, right? You're just out of college, and for most people that are not in some kind of engineering degree or some kind of science or like some kind of science degree, right? Something like biomechanics or biochemistry or physics or whatever it is. I mean, people that are like that, they're gonna be okay, I think. But for the most part, that's not most people, right? That's not most people in the universities anymore. And so most people in the universities are going to college for 4+ years. They're getting out of college, and now they've got $16 an hour jobs. You went all that way just to get a starter pack for a $16 an hour job. Meanwhile, at the same time, housing has gone up by at least 40%. Where I'm from, there's a place that I used to live at. It was like $600 a month. Okay, this was in 2019, so it was 5 years ago. Today, guess how much that is? Just guess how much that is now. Yep, $950. $950. What's changed? Nothing. Nothing's changed. They haven't renovated it. They haven't done anything. And I know because I looked at this ad yesterday. I just happened to just do some research on the places here just to get an idea of what the housing situation is like, and if I'm gonna have to move or not, like where am I gonna move to. And there's a lot of moving parts right now in my life, which is okay. We're still moving along. What in the world? I just saw a squirrel just run across the I haven't seen a squirrel around here for a minute, but anyway, so I'm moving around a lot and moving pieces around in my life, and it's good because it keeps me very focused and very diligent, but I don't want to stretch myself too thin, right? Well, that's what people want you to do, and this is what the system wants you to do. They want you to stretch yourself too thin, because what happens when you get a degree, right? Let's say you go to college, you do what everybody tells you to do in a society. Get to this, get to that, do this so you can get that, do that so you can get to this. What happens, right? What actually happens? Down the line, well, what happens is when you graduate, let's say the average person now graduates with at least $30,000 worth of student loans, by the way. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the minimum. Somebody might be able to use a reference to correct me on that, but pretty sure that's the average. So we're assuming that most people, which is now about 40% of the population, which is going to college, and most of those are women now, by the way, too. So we're assuming that people are graduating, 40% of the population is already in debt by the time they're 24, 22, 23, whatever that age. They're already in debt, at least $30,000 in student loans. And that doesn't have anything to do with credit cards or car payments. I've literally seen people and heard people at the gym that I go to. I've heard people talk about their car payments. This person's car payment was like $895 a month, and the insurance was like $400. That's like a house mortgage payment. Like, at least that's what it ought to be, as a house mortgage payment. That's how much it should be. Can you imagine paying that much? I drive a 2006 Honda Accord. I've paid it off, and the car insurance is relatively cheap because it's an older car. And guess what? That thing still's got like 80,000 miles left, easy. And because the engine was replaced at 180,000 miles, and now it's at like 205,000. So I'm solid. Like, I'm solid. I have, and I only need to get from point A to point B with this vehicle. And I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. Too many people are trying to keep up with the Joneses. I really don't understand. I really don't get it. But hey, you know what? It's your life to screw over. So, like, if you want to do that, go ahead. But meanwhile, so everybody's graduating with debt, right? Not everybody, but a lot of people are. And so after this, what happens is you get your job, but now people are expecting you to go out. People want to go do things. You can't do much with rent being at least $1,000 a month in most places, because even the place that I live, like, it's relatively it's relatively affordable for the places that I've lived. And even at the place that I had at $600 a month, I was rooming with somebody. So rent for me was only like $300 because I was sharing a room. And that's what you're gonna have to do a lot of the times. But this is all designed, like, I don't want to get too like conspiratorial. The squirrel just ran down again. I don't want to get too conspiratorial because I don't think it helps necessarily. But let's look at the reality. This has got to be there's got to be a reason that this is happening. There's got to be a reason why so many people are in a deficit financially right now. And it's not just because of the debt, like, that we're choosing to be in debt. It's that people are being told to go into debt. People are being told to go and lose their possibilities of livelihood. And beyond that, I mean, after you get to a certain point, even when you graduate, most jobs want a certain amount of degrees, not just degrees. People want a certain amount of things available for you to, in order for you to continue moving forward. There has to be some kind of prerequisite requirements, right? So now, after you've got the degree, now you need the experience. But once you get the experience, all of a sudden, you're supposed to have 5 years of experience out of college. Most people don't have that. So now you're being secluded, not just socially, but financially. And if you don't have the proper skills and the competence to do certain things, it's going to be very challenging for you to move beyond that place, to move beyond a place of just living to get yourself straight. And as a reminder, God's not going to punish you for trying to get your life together. And God doesn't necessarily want you to change who you are, but you might have to change what you are to not get broke nowadays, because people are going to need multiple jobs to just afford to live. People are going to need multiple jobs to just be alive nowadays. And that's the reality that we have to just simply accept, because there's not much else to do but to look at the situation, look at the chessboard, and make the proper moves to determine how we're going to get to a better life. And again, you might be down, you might have to sacrifice a few pieces on the chessboard to get to a certain place to win the game. But if you operate from a place and a strategy of winning rather than hoping, your life is going to be so much better for it. Hope can only get you so far. And I'm not saying that you need to lose hope. I'm not saying you need to let go of hope. I'm just saying that strategies that optimize the potential success rate of winning is going to be so much more powerful and meaningful than just trying to hope things or wish things into existence. So with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.